I was recently asked by someone to make them a cabinet for their dishwasher. This was going to be a very simple piece that was going to be used in a utility area, and it didn't really need to be very elaborate. For this project, I decided to use just some cabinet grade plywood and then wrap the edges of the plywood on the finished cabinet. Here I'm setting up my table saw to cut the panels. I was able to cut all of the panels for this piece using one sheet of cabinet grade plywood. Just trusting the marks on my table saw, the gauge on my table saw, I actually take a square and ensure that I have my miter lined up perfectly. Once I get it lined up, the first step is to square up the ends of the boards. After squaring up one end of the board, I'll use that to measure for the overall length of this piece. Once I have the first piece cut, I'll use it for measuring the length of the second one. I'll just line it up and mark the end of it, and that way I will ensure that both of these boards are the exact same length. If one of the boards was longer than others, the cabinet would not be square. To form one of the rabbet joints on the plywood panels. These will accept a 1/4 inch piece of plywood that will add a lot of strength to the back of the panel. Here I've got my router set up to cut the rabbets for the top, which I used for bracing the two panels together. You'll see in a few moments where I actually use my table saw to form the rabbets on the boards that you see me cut previously. set my fence up on my table saw to stop the board once I reach the correct length of the rabbet. Here I'm just making a few passes on each end of the board to form that joint. This joint, after it is glued and pinned together, is very strong. Here I'm just pinning the joints together. I've added carpenter's glue into each of the joints, and once the pins are in place and the glue sets up, this joint will not come apart. To attach the top to the rest of the cabinet, I'm simply using some screws. The top is cut out of the plywood just as the sides were, and we will wrap the top using quarter round to cover up the plywood edges. Once everything is together and all the glue has dried, I give the piece a good sanding to make sure that the finish is very smooth. This is going into utility area, so it is not something that needs to be very fine. So a simple stain and a little bit of protective coating, and we're ready to go. And here you see the cabinet with the dishwasher installed. Thanks for watching the video.